What is going on, people? We went from a full panel to half. Everybody either working or they got
Yeah.
other stuff to do. So you got us three, the original three. Oh no,
No.
one new one, the original two, and the
Mm.
addition. Yeah.
The
So
OG, triple OGs.
we are going to talk about a topic that has not gotten a whole lot of media coverage. The only coverage you probably see is from people talking about it because it's a big deal. But you'll
Mhm.
see why the news doesn't want to cover it in a bit. So we will be back to talk about that. So please don't run away too far. And if you do, make sure it's only to the bathroom and back. We'll be right back. All right. Um, for those of you who have not seen the uh, the video in topic here, we're going to show it to you. Um, and if it gets you angry, pause your anger for just a second so we could break it down. And we'll see if we can figure why it's not getting traction in the news. I think we, I think we all kind of know why, but
Yeah, we
yeah,
know what.
you know, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
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 So let's put us to the bottom here, and
Mhm.
y'all watch this.
Video is making the rounds online, showing what's believed to be the fight that happened Wednesday afternoon. Metro officers responding to reports of a student fight across the street from Rancho High School. The investigation revealing the victim got into a physical altercation with 15 people before cops arrived.
Nothing that large, like 3 people maybe, but like 15, I've never heard of that before.
Rancho High Junior Antonio Green says he's a classmate and saw the video.
It could happen to anybody. It could happen for me just for like, because I have a natural mean face. It could happen to me just from looking at somebody the wrong way.
Neighbor
You have a
Greg
natural mean
Bostick was
face, he does.
shocked
Yeah.
to see it.
Or from the video, that's a problem. You can't just retaliate with hate, and get back and revenge all the time. Sometimes you got to talk it out.
Off camera, a neighbor tells us that he helped carry the victim to the campus parking lot. Bostick says he saw the aftermath.
Somebody was laying on the ground, and they were like out of commission and incapacitated. And
Metro says the victim appeared to be unconscious when school staff performed CPR.
right in that parking lot, I saw somebody getting chest compressions, a CPR. The police came, ambulance, fire truck, and they kind of dealt with it.
So
Mm.
there you go. Now, what do you guys make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a wild story, and you can just see the mentality of these young kids these days.
Yeah.
There's no sense of morality. There's no sense of accountability. All morals went out the door. For 15 guys to jump on one kid. I mean, what was the purpose of it? Back in our days, it was straight up 1-on-1 every time, man. You and me, everyone else stay out. But nowadays, these kids, it's the lack of emotional intelligence, and I think I've talked about this before. It's that lack of. There's not going to be any consequences, especially with the political environment that we live in now, because it's pretty much telling young kids of color, Black, Hispanic, whatever, that you can pretty much get away with it because we'll just scream racism, and he's white, so they're not gonna talk about it. They're not gonna do anything about it. They're the oppressors. They're a part of the systematic racist system. So yeah, it's just a white guy.
So let's cover the
Just a
story the
white
way
guy.
the people are covering it. Okay,
Mhm.
this is CNN. Okay,
Mm.
8 juveniles are facing murder charges in the senseless beating, and they notice how they do the quotation of senseless.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to really watch how they phrase this whole story up. Just please listen. Watch too. You see how they'll put certain things a certain way. Okay, because eventually they're gonna say, "Oh, he brought it on himself." I'm gonna go on a limb and say that's gonna come out. Beating death of 17-year-old Las Vegas high school student that was caught on video. He died after he was beaten when a fight broke out over a pair of stolen wireless headphones and possibly a stolen marijuana vape pen, according to police spokesperson. It happened on November 1st near the school Events in the alley were captured in a video that has widely been shared on social media. When you see the video, it's approximately 10 subjects kicking, stomping, and punching our victim, Johnathan, as he is on the ground, not defending himself, to the point where he becomes unconscious. The video is very graphic and, in my opinion, very void of humanity, like you were saying, bro. The suspect ranged from 13 to 17 years old. Half the teens arrested will be tried as adults.
Yep.
These 4 cases were automatically transferred to adult criminal court because the defendants are 16 or 17. The remaining defendants between 13 and 15 will face certification hearings in family court, where a judge will determine if they will be tried as adults according to the review journal.
Yeah.
So, I don't care how mad you are. You're a punk if you can't fight on your own. If you need 15 or 14 other people to fight with you, you a sissy. I just want people to understand that from a man's perspective. Hear me out. All those boys grew up with either sissy dads or without one, and they act accordingly. All of them are sissies. They can't even fight a girl properly, so they decide to band up on somebody. I didn't care whether they're white or black. If you do that, you are a sissy. I want people to understand. I don't care if you're white, black, Asian, Hispanic, green, blue, purple. I would say the other words you are, but that's what you are. A straight up that.
Yeah, and you remember, you know how we grew up, and I'm always revert back to us, Generation X, millennials, elder millennials. You took a butt whipping like a champ. It is what it is. You either won or you lost. You know what I mean? That was it. There was no retaliation. There was no, nowadays they go around, they got to get revenge. It is what it is. You lost. Usually back then we stood up, we either shook hands or hugged each other or, hey man, and we moved on. Nowadays, these kids retaliate. This wasn't just like something that probably happened. That kid, there's something deeper with that kid. He was probably bullied. He was probably picked on. I don't know, and they needed a fall guy, and he was the one.
Well, from what I understand of the story is that he was actually defending one of his friends. One of his things got stolen from one of his smaller classmates, and he was trying to get it back, and I guess they agreed to mutual combat in the parking lot, according to reports, and that's what happened. And apparently, he swung first, as they say, but I mean, if you stole something and he was trying to get it back, and then you beat him for trying to get it back, I mean, that's kind of on you, isn't it? Just a tad bit. I mean, he's stealing stuff in the first place. It's probably not good. And here's a reality check people don't really want to adjust.
I mean, if you go,
kids are from single mothers.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I bet you every single one of them were from single mother homes. Every single one of them.
All but one or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you go back to the article, if you notice, they don't put the race of the kids. And the reason I'm bringing it. Yep. The reason I'm bringing this up, because if it was the other way around, say it was a bunch of white kids that jumped a black kid.
Oh, it's a hate crime now.
It would have been a hate crime, and they would have put the race of the kids on there. Look at just when it happens with cops. They can't just say it's an officer. They have to put the race of the officer plus the race of
unless they're a black officer, then they won't mention
unless
it at
they're
all.
blacks. You see how they try to manipulate the words in there? They don't think attacking white people is the same as attacking a black person. So they're not going to put the race of the perpetrators. That's what
the whole fight between Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro is right now. Right? As she called out, is like everybody cares about the Jews all of a sudden in Israel, but nobody was calling out these people for anti-white hatred in schools and in universities for the last, 5, almost 10 years now? That they've been preaching this stuff and how like white people are evil and they need to be chastised at every moment they possibly can. Right. Yep. So like, this is just a repercussion of things that they've been preaching forever. It's okay to beat white people because they're not real people. Right. They don't deserve your sympathy. That's what they've been teaching them.
Case in point, look at the headline.
You see,
if it's someone black that gets hurt, they'll mention that the person that was hurt was black. If the person that was hurt was white by a black person, they don't mention anything about it.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's intentional. I don't care whether or not the kids were trying to be racist. The people pushing the narrative indeed are.
Mhm.
Okay, this is exactly what they do. And what you know what this does? This gives, like you said, bro, the people who are mentally unstable the okay to do whatever they want to the person that they hate most.
Mhm.
Now, if I know, okay, so you listen, they're facing murder charges. I don't know that any of them are going to face actual murder charges.
Nope.
I mean,
They'll
I,
bl-
I don't know that. I
It
highly
is
doubt
it
it.
is Vegas, so it's a blue area, so probably not.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
like everybody knows at this point, if depending on the jurisdiction that you're in, depends on what you get charged with and what you're going
Mhm.
to get convicted of, right? So if you're in a Republican area and you're in and you're a Republican, you're probably good. If you're in a Democrat area and you're a Republican, you are boned. You are
Yeah.
absolutely boned. There is no way you don't get convicted of everything that you've been charged with.
I mean, and just look at some of the crimes throughout these last few years that's happened. So let's talk about school shootings. You remember that when that young black kid went in that school and shot it
Simpkins.
up? You remember that?
Simpkins. Yeah,
Yeah.
Timothy Simpkins. Yeah.
Now you look at the amount of media coverage that got compared to the amount of media coverage when a white kid went in there and shot it up.
Oh yeah.
Same crime. People died. People got hurt. But the coverage for the white kid was way more publicized than it was for the black kid. So this isn't something new for them. This is something they do all the time, and people feed into it. You have to look, you have to read between the lines and see what their intent is. It's tragic that someone lost their life. It's tragic that this happened. But you also got to read between the lines and look at their intentions of them trying to get an emotional response out of the people, because at the end of the day, they want white and black people against each other.
Yep.
Period.
And look how they covered the trans shooter, right? With the manifesto just coming out, and this person absolutely having a diatribe of how white people are the most evil in the world, and all these white kids need to die, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like they've been preaching all this stuff, and then it comes down to you seeing all of these different people acting out in violent ways against white kids, and you're surprised it's happening. I'm not. We've been warning you this is going to happen.
Simpkins only got what, 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see for sure here.
Yeah,
12.
I know it wasn't much. It wasn't a lot of time.
Up to 12.
Oh, that's cool. I'm glad Enrique Tarrio is getting 20 years for a text, and school shooter's only getting 12 years.
12 years.
Brilliant. I'm glad our justice.
That's why.
Yeah, our justice system is absolutely intact and working properly. Yeah. Absolutely.
But in his defense, he said sorry.
Yeah, he said sorry. Right.
Yeah,
it's not like he was trying to overthrow the U.S. government or anything. No. He just killed a bunch of kids. No big deal.
But like we always say, the reason this happens, the reactions and how things play out when in incidents like this happen, it's the American people's fault. It's our fault. Even though the media and the government is feeding us this information, we buy into it and we eat it up. We eat it up and we buy into it. So they're going to be like, oh, they bought that one. Let's give them another one. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Sensationalism. That's what sells. Sensationalism. Things like this happen all the time in this country. Every single day. We just don't see it.
It's also the failure of the school system.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to. Like, I cannot imagine any parent that looks at the school system now and goes, yeah, I should really send my kids to public school. That's a great idea. Why? Why in the hell would you trust your kids in the public school system? Not just because of the educational factor. I'm talking about just in general. Like your kid has more likelihood of getting bullied, beaten, or dead in various ways, right? Or not even talking about sexually assaulted either, right? All of these things have happened and are happening currently in almost every school. So like, why would you willingly send your kid to a prison where he's going to get shanked and sexually assaulted, or her, either one, right? Because that's exactly what they are now. They're just prisons. They have guards and everything.
And speaking of that, where was the security? Where's the campus security at? You know,
it was
why weren't they on the scene? Where were they hiding like they do in most school incidents? They just hide out because they're too scared to get involved.
The question is if they have it.
Yeah.
It's Vegas. I'm sure they have one.
yeah,
They have
it's
a school
Vegas.
resource office.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
I
sure
can't say they do, especially if they're trying to cut back on police funding.
That's true.
I could see them not having it. I'm trying to find the demographics of that school. I think it's Rancho something or the other. What was the name of the place that he went to school at?
It's Rancho. Just put
Because I've been looking for the exact name of the school
Yeah,
near the Rancho High School campus.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's just Rancho High School.
And why are you
Not
searching
many
for that?
places.
You know, all of us have.
Go ahead.
All of us have kids. All three of us have kids that are in school. So, you know, when I think about it, I really thought about it. I was like, what if that was my kid? You know?
Yeah. No, I don't have my kids in school. I'm homeschooling them.
Well, just school age.
Nobody, especially with special needs kids. I don't trust anybody with my kids.
School age. So, you know, when it comes to school age kids, you have to think like, you know, that could have been my kid.
Yeah.
My kid was close to that age. It's close to that age, but that could have been mine, you know? And for these schools to allow these kind of riffraffs, and like these kids, they're probably problem children in school. They're probably already identified as problem kids, you know? And so that should have been a red flag right there. The minute that incident happened in the school, the argument, because it started with an argument. He said, she said. Right there, the school should have got involved. They should have, for one, protected the kid that was involved, the victim. Hey, you guys leave. We're going to call your parents. They're going to come pick you up, or me as the teacher or the principal, I'm going to drop you off at home. But there was no protection measures there. It was just like, all right, you guys argue, go on about your business, handle it outside, and here's what happens.
To me, this is just one of those things you get what you vote for. When I really think about it, you think about how the left have been trying to get rid of the family, degrading society as a whole. Like all of this stuff stems from everything that they've been preaching. Everything leads back to what they've done, right? So kids don't have families anymore. If they do, both of their parents are working and neither one of them are at home ever because they're trying to make ends meet, because it's impossible to make any sort of living with just one salary. It's impossible. Like nobody can do it. Even if they raise the minimum wage, there's no way anybody can live on one salary, especially with the way rent is and everything else. And then their diatribes against the white menace, we should say, the white menace. It's not any surprise that these people don't see them as actual humans anymore. They see them as others. It's like, it's okay to be mean to them. It's okay to beat them. It's okay because they're the oppressors, right? It's okay to be violent against oppressors and settlers and colonials. That's what they've been preaching, right? That's what they're still preaching. So it's not a surprise to me. This is exactly what they wanted.
They call it Uno reverse. The dynamics of the school is 93% minority, Hispanic, Black. 93% of the school is of, I can't call that a minority now, can I? The majority of the school are minorities.
The majority of that school is non-white.
Non-white.
Because like white isn't a color, it's its own little category. Because everybody that's a different, like everybody, I hate this because like they say people of color except white people. Like white people aren't a color. They're not, like, they don't belong in this category, but everybody else in the world who makes up more people of the actual like demographics of the world, white people are a very small minority.
You want to hear something even more fun? You want to hear something even more fun about the school? Now, you tell me if this makes sense, right? They have a graduation rate of 94%. They are in the bottom 50% for overall testing, the bottom 50% for math, and just above in the top for reading at 38%.
And most of those kids only read at a third grade level.
At most. But they graduate them.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
They stop caring.
If you follow the breadcrumbs, lead all the way back to the home, I guarantee those kids are a direct reflection of their parents. Guarantee. Direct reflection. So it starts at the home. Period. We can blame the government. We can blame liberals. We can blame conservatives, whatever. That's all just the blame game. You know, take accountability for your kids. Don't blame the system. It's you, the parent. You know, so you can trace it all the way back. And I guarantee the parents have some issues. A lot of the parents are probably in and out of jail, single family homes. There's no structure. So they're just wild, man. They just run the streets and they run in packs.
Mm-hmm. But if you destroy the family, I mean, that's kind of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
What I've been saying is like
It's inevitable, and they only have 3,171 students, 9 through 12. Okay,
mhm.
so their rates of education at this school is piss poor to begin with. So you have stupid kids, stupid teachers, and a stupid system that allows for multiple stupid things to take place. And when you have this, my mom back when we used to call it "don't care damn" behavior, where you don't give a damn about anything, everything goes. And while it may be the home may have something to do with it, at the end of the day, you have sent your kids to a location that is supposed to teach them structure, and they don't teach them structure there.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee that none of this, the impact will come back on the school. Not a one. Not for preventing. And I wouldn't be surprised if this kid or his friend that he was defending had brought information to that school before about being bullied, harassed, or something, and the school said we can't do anything. I will guarantee you money that will come out. And they will say, well, we couldn't do anything about it because we didn't have names, and they'll give all kinds of excuses. And this was just a culmination of a long time of them, the students there, being mean to somebody else, and they just couldn't take it anymore. Now, I have been on the other end of the bullying stick, and I can tell you that I had my share of teachers that did nothing. I would tell them, and they would almost laugh at me comically, almost to the point where you got to figure that out yourself. The excuse back then was figure it yourself. The excuse now is we can't touch them. And to me, it is a great example of why you need to teach your children how to fight. Because while you might want them to be passive, other people are not going to be.
That's right.
So you need to be able to tell your kids, you might want to be passive, but someone's going to test you one day, and you got to be able to knock them out first.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the one on the ground getting stomped out by 16 people. You want to take the kingpin out with one hit and take the rest of them out, at least the most you can, so just mitigate the amount of damage you get. And it might sound mean, but I will be damned if a kid just decides to jump my kid. I'm saying it now. I'm an adult, but you as a kid think you're brave enough to put your hands on my kid. Trust and believe I'm not looking for your parents. I'm looking for you.
Facts.
I'm going to mess you up 6 ways from Sunday. Then I'll get to your parents.
Facts.
I'm going systematically through your family with this one. You don't come after my kid like that. I don't play that game. I've been through it, and I will never tolerate it happening to my kids. You mess with my kid, I'm messing you up, and then I'm going to go mess your mom up, messing your dad up. If your brother's jumping, he getting messed up too. I don't care if your sister jumping, she getting this work too. All of them. They're going to have a permanent imprint of my fist across their face. Permanent.
I agree. And, you know, I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate here, right? It's sometimes, you know, with the teachers, imagine going to work every single day in a very chaotic environment. You know, every single day, these kids, every single day. I mean, we're parents. We understand how chaotic kids can get at times. Imagine dealing with 30 of them every single day. At some point, you know, the teachers are probably like, man, I'm tired. I don't care. You know,
But that's the point I made. That's why the school system is failing, is because these teachers don't care.
Yeah, they never have it. For a long time, they haven't cared.
Why would you want to send your kid to a place where basically the prison guard doesn't actually care what happens to your kid?
Populace.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hey, dude could get shanked in your class and be like, well, that sucks. Now I gotta go freaking do an internal review and see why I didn't act in appropriate ways. You know, like they care.
Yeah, but there's a lot of rules in schools too nowadays. You know, like Marlon said earlier, their hands are tied too.
Yeah, okay. So, Michael, from your experience as a prison guard to teachers, is there much of a difference?
Yeah, you're dealing with convicts.
Okay,
there is a huge difference.
Okay, today.
I mean, today, like if you're looking at this example, what I'm talking about is like how many of these kids are convicts?
They probably a lot of them.
A lot of them. They've probably been in juvie.
So that's the point. It's like, what's the difference?
The pay. But
He said
That's true.
that is
the
true.
pay and
Pay's
the fact when I worked in the jail, so you could put your hands on them.
Hey,
They
look,
touched you.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
That's the
fight
difference.
kids.
You can't do anything about these
I-
kids.
I
Yeah.
want people to know I'm not gonna fight a kid. I'm gonna beat the kid up. There is a massive difference. A fight means that there's gonna be
He
some
had a
give back.
chance to begin with.
I'm not fighting no kids. If you touch my child to the point where he gets damaged and you hit him, I am not fighting you. There will be no fight. It's not a fight. You
Yeah.
want to call it abuse? Call it abuse. I'm gonna find you. I don't care if you're 13 or 19. If you feel froggy enough to be an adult and put your hand on my kid, I'm gonna feel childish enough to put my hand on you.
Yeah, especially if they put your kid in the hospital or kill
Like,
them. I mean,
like,
come on,
bro,
man.
no.
Like that.
You know, when I was in school, I was raised by my grandparents, and in our house there was 5 of us, right? My sister, my brother, and my 2 uncles. All the kids, all of them went to the same high school. So my 2 uncles, my brother, and my sister, they all went to the same high school. It's kind of the inner city high school. It's the same high school Snoop went to, Snoop Dogg and Cameron Diaz, Polly. I was the only one that got sent to another school, and it was a little further out. That school was a little more, it was good. It was a good school. It was no violence. But this school, inner city school, always had an incident. People always fighting. So what I'm getting at is that this is why I love school of choice, because there's probably kids in that school that the parents don't want them to go to, but they don't have a choice. And then things like this happen. If they had the choice to send their kid to another school within the district, you would see a lot of these roughhouse students stay where they're at, and the better students get pulled out. But what happens is that these better students get thrown into this roughhouse life, and they start becoming what they're a part of. Need to get them up out of there.
Well,
Get your kids up out of there.
I would not go to jail because I'm black.
Yeah, we can do what we want.
All I have to do is plead that card. I'm not even joking with that one. I tell you, all I have to do is plead the card.
No, you just got to blame Donald Trump. It's fine.
Yeah,
He
They
radicalized you.
beat my kid because he was black, and I beat them because they beat a black kid. I'm good
Yeah.
to go.
It was racist.
That's gonna be my defense. You can't hit
There-
me. I'm black.
There's a couple things. There's a difference between being peaceful and harmless. You never want your kids
Yes.
to be harmless.
Yes, you
That's,
want them
that's
to be
what
peaceful.
Marlon's getting across with all this. And the other thing, like I said, is like the school system is not there to educate your children.
That's right.
Your kids are going there to learn from other kids.
Mhm.
No, they're not learning from adults. They're learning from other kids. Let's be honest. And they're not even learning well, right? So these teachers want to get paid more, but they can't even, like, the kids can't even learn anything. And they've been saying school sucks forever, and nobody's listening.
But you're in terms of
Oh, that's right. Because
yeah, that's right.
Biden,
Dadgummit.
when you
Yeah.
Oh
get
no!
Biden-
Remember, I said I'm not voting for him this time. So technically, I got my black
yeah.
back.
I'm
No,
voting for
because
him.
you didn't vote for Biden. He took your melanin, right?
No, you don't know
He
who I'm
sucked
voting
it out
for.
of you.
I could be leaning towards Biden. I mean, I could.
You better not do it.
You don't vote for me. You ain't black.
But the whole education system needs to be revamped, and we've constantly talked on this show about getting rid of the Department of Education because it's useless. What are they there for? Go back to teaching things like civics. Teaching these kids how to start a business, skills, trades, things that's going to set them up for the outside world. What you learn in school, all it is you're memorizing stuff.
Yep.
That's it. It's just memorizing. If you take any test, if you just memorize what's on the test, which they pretty much tell you in the practice exams, are usually the same thing. If you can just memorize that, you're going to pass.
Yeah.
School needs to go back to hands-on. Here's how you work on a car. Here's how you balance a checkbook. Here's how the government works. Those things, you know what I mean? Now here's history, whatever history you want to believe. Nowadays, they got to tone it down because these kids aren't as smart as these kids, and everybody gets an A because, they're
racist.
They're not that smart. So, participation trophy. No, hold these kids accountable. If you don't pass, you're going to get held back or you're going to get kicked out.
Yeah. And the best example and evidence that the system is failing is the fact that colleges have been complaining about this for the last 5-6 years, maybe even longer, that they have too many kids that have to go through remedial courses, which is basically just high school all over again before they can even take the general education classes. That they go into college, which they should already know all this stuff, and can't actually do any of it.
It's an epidemic, because I remember when I was going to school to try and become a teacher. Okay, and this is something I saw back in 97. Okay. In
Jeez.
97, you could see this on the wall. You could see it. So when I was going to college for my degree, I was deciding I was going to become an art teacher. That was my thing. I wanted to teach, and I went, and we started to do the process of all the things that you needed to do. And by the time I got around to my first semester of student teaching, I got placed in a class. The kids were kind of rowdy. Okay. So I'm thinking I'm the teacher. My job is to keep them, in line. I only began to try and bring them in. The main teacher said, you can't talk to them like that. And I didn't even raise my voice. I just told them, y'all need to calm down. This is time for, like, you can't do that. You have to redirect. I was, what do you mean redirect? I am redirecting. I'm redirecting from being stupid idiots to being listening. That's my redirection. What do you mean redirect? No, you have to give them something nicer to do. And I was like, so I'm a babysitter. And I walked out. I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm not a teacher no more. If this is what it entails, you could forget that. I'm not teaching, because I will snap a kid in half if I have to just deal with their crap all day and not be able to. No. So I picked that in 97, I was not going to teach no more, because even then, teachers' hands were tied up. I remember when I was going to school, you had the same respect for the teacher as you did for your mom or your dad.
Whipping.
Okay, you did not cross the teacher.
No.
It was the last thing you did. And the majority of teachers, I would say about 98% of them, were good people. And there was a select few, but when they acted up, they were actually punished. There was a marked difference. Today, I can see why kids are the way they are, because there is no discipline. There's no correct, even if you don't say discipline, there's no correction. You just say, oh, that's just how he is. Or, kids are going to be kids. Or you can't really correct them on that because you don't know how their life is. They give them every excuse on them. When something like this happens now, I guarantee you're going to hear them say, well, it's because of the rhetoric going around, and because of poverty, and because of this. And they won't blame the actual things, which are the parents, the teachers, and the environment that the kid is in. They'll blame everything but.
And this is what you get, like you said. I mean, when you don't have any structure in the home, we're going to keep going. We're going to go back to the home, because that's where it starts, right? It all starts right there. There's no structure. There's no discipline. And like Coy said, both parents are working. They're working, so they don't have that time. So what do they throw in front of their kids? They throw a PlayStation, an Xbox, and a tablet or whatever. So these kids spend most of their time learning from the internet. Back when we were going to school, we didn't have internet. You had to learn that stuff. We didn't have cheat codes to go into Google and do a math problem for us. And now you got AI that'll do the whole math problem for you. You don't have to do anything. You're like, AI, what is 10th to the 12th to the 13th power? And AI will figure it out and give you the whole equation. You just write it down. So this is all done by design. And like we always say, everything is a rich man's trick. This is all done by design. This internet and access and all this, having computers in school, is to dumb down society. When you dumb down society, you start losing emotional intelligence. When you lose your emotional intelligence, you get stuff like this, because they don't know how to control. The intellect is gone.
The new version of white supremacy is this. If you guys want to know about white supremacy, here's what it is. White supremacists will tell you that you don't need to speak a certain way, because if you do intelligently, that's speaking white. And a true racist will tell you don't need to speak proper. You don't need to make people understand you, because that's being white. You don't need to have a proper job, because that also is being white. Looking after and trying to find a house with a so-called picket fence, that too is white. Making a certain kind of money, that is white. So if I'm gonna get this right, The people who say they're not racist says everything that's beneficial to me is me being white, and I need to be in a position where I'm not beneficial to anyone, and that's called being black.
Mhm.
Here's a
Hmm.
funny comparison to you.
Hmm.
What historical institution didn't like it when black folk were intelligent?
The KKK.
Well, that is a membership group, but I'm saying an institution. There's
Oh,
an
the
institution.
Democratic Party.
Yeah, there's a Democratic Party who was in control of what area, which is the
Urban.
South,
Yeah.
right? Who held them as slaves, right? So like they're still doing the slave bit. They're just like, oh, it's okay if you're dumb. You don't have to speak intelligently because you don't want to be white, right? You don't want to be white. You don't want to be
Yeah.
like us.
You don't want to be like them.
You
Those are
gotta
your
be dumb.
oppressors.
So
It's fine.
So let me
You don't
ask
need
you
to
a question.
read.
Let me ask
Who
you a
needs to
question.
read?
Aren't people in Nigeria, the black area, and multiple other countries over there, some of the most brilliant people on the face of the earth?
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're really good scientists.
Oh,
You know, every time
okay.
you hear him in a movie, you know that dude knows his stuff, right?
Oh,
Way
so
more
so
educated.
wait, so being smart is not being white.
No.
Why are you dumb?
Mm. Hmm. So then I should be able to tell people that intelligence and self-respect and taking care of your neighbor is not a white trait but a good human trait.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's not racist, people. And just because you speak proper does not make you less black, because last time I checked, I can't erase my skin.
No.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's not black anyway. It's more of a burnt umber.
Yeah, our shirts
Yeah.
are black.
Yeah,
You know,
shirts are black.
I'm not a crayon.
So here's a
You're a
question.
crayon eater. Big difference.
You know, people judge people based on the way they sound, right?
That's a
So
crayon eater.
Yeah.
who are you gonna trust as a neurosurgeon? The guy that sounds super redneck, the Nigerian dude, or the posh English dude?
I don't know. Show me how many people you killed on your operating table, and then
I
I'll
know,
care.
right? But that's not what we're gonna think. They're automatically gonna go, I'll take the Nigerian or the posh dude over the redneck. That's all I'm saying. So they're gonna automatically assume the redneck is dumb. Marlon left. That
Yeah,
frozen smile.
it's just a whole revamping, and it needs to happen with the education system. So, you know, just the way schools are operated, you know, these
Yeah.
kids have to know that when you go to this school, which is funded by the taxpayers, these are the rules the taxpayers want. There is discipline. There are things that will happen if you get out of line. You could be expelled. You can be kicked out. You can even be jailed for acting a certain way while you're here.
Yep.
They need to be held to a standard. These kids know the teachers aren't going to do anything. The principal's not going to do anything. And if they touch them, that's a lawsuit. So these teachers, they let them just run amok. And then the kids get out of school, they go home and run amok because the parents are scared of their kids. Some parents, they're terrified of their own children. So they don't want to deal with them. So they just throw them a PlayStation. Oh, don't worry about studying. You know, don't worry about that. Just play your game. Get out of my face. I'm tired. Then the kids get up in the morning and they do it all over again. They didn't study.
Yep.
They go and disrupt. They go back home. They disrupt. And it's just a revolving door.
Well, it's also the fact that they don't make learning fun. Kids want to learn. Like that's the default setting of kids is learning. They like imitating and learning things. It's adults that make things unfun for them, right? They make it unfun to learn things. Like period. Like kids love learning. It's just the way you're teaching them is wrong. So like they expect them to take all this information in, but they're not doing it in the most efficient manner.
Yeah, it does come down to the method of instruction because, like I said earlier, it's gone from interaction with a human to interacting with technology.
Or other kids. Yeah.
And
they're being taught by
intelligence,
technology and other kids.
And they consider it intelligence. Now,
Yeah.
Okay, so you can press some buttons and you know how a screen works. Okay, great. Now I want you to write what you just did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You see,
Or
they'll
regurgitate what I tell you.
Yeah, they'll consider this. Oh, it's just moving on to the next level of evolution in the human mind. Here's a problem with evolution. You should be able to do some of the things that were before, because it should be something that you actually learn. You can't consider evolution just because you're on the next level. Like the people before, boomers learned from the ones before, even though they were in a new technological era.
Yeah.
Generation X did the exact same thing from boomers. We learned and we did what they did plus more. The advantage of evolution is that you could do what was and do more. Today's generation can't do jack from before, and they're barely doing what is now.
Yeah.
They're that much slower. And I would dare say, I don't care what anybody tells me about how, what was the new name of the generation now? Z? Is it Z?
A.
Mhm.
A?
Wait,
Yeah.
which generation are you talking about? The ones that are
Okay.
just now
The
adults,
one
or are
that
you
just
talking
been
about?
born within the last 5 years.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
alpha. Then alpha.
Okay.
Yeah.
A clown is what they really are. And unless you can teach them the basics of life, just because you know what a computer can do doesn't mean you know what a computer is.
Yeah.
And many of them don't even know how their phone operates. You give them a rotary dial phone and they're just looking at it like, what? They can't even functionally look at something and know what it's supposed to do just by looking at it. I don't even have to tell you what a rotary phone has to do. You see something that looks like a circle, you see a number, and you mean to tell me you can't just deductively figure that maybe it rotates and it's called a rotary phone? Then something is definitely wrong with the system.
You would actually have to recognize
And
it as
you know,
first.
one thing, I tested my son one time, right? I told my son, and this is a true story, I asked him to sign his signature on a piece of paper. Hey, sign it. He was like, signature? Sign? He didn't know what that meant, because the school system, when we came up, we learned cursive in school. This is how you would sign a check. This is how you would sign any documents. This is called your signature. We learned that. They don't even teach that in school.
Nope.
It's just those basic things that, for one, the parents should be teaching. So I taught them how to do it, but it's just the basic things. And the school's just gotten away from that because it's all about this, right? Funding. Oh, that's a waste of time. They don't need, they can learn that when they're later on in life. They can learn that later on in life. They need to get back down to the basics.
Yeah.
So the kids, when they get out of school, they can survive.
We ain't gonna get back there.
You have to take that into your own hands as a parent. Honestly, you do. And I was going to say there's a difference between memorization and understanding, right? And I think that's what people misconstrue what education is. It's like understanding is the goal of education, not memorization. And that's where they messed up everything. It's like a kid can't take information and understand it. That's the problem. Like, you do all these multiple question tests in order to grade how well the teachers are doing, but you're not actually understanding if the kid is learning anything or if he's understanding anything or they're understanding anything, because they can't sit down and give you an articulate answer or even an essay on a topic that they've learned from or they understand from. That's the thing, is like that critical thinking skill is so important to understand how to actually create an argument or how to get your information from your brain to somebody else across efficiently.
It's all about part of the brain development, right? Because your brain's constantly developing. It's constantly. So the least amount of information you're feeding your brain, I always call it a brain orgasm, right? I want to have brain orgasms. I'm constantly feeding information to myself.
Yeah.
If you limit the amount of information that you're receiving, that affects a lot more. Because your brain's not developing. It's not developing those critical thinking skills. So back to this situation with these kids, if any of those kids at that age had, semi-average, average critical thinking skills, a lot of them wouldn't have done what they did. But since their brains weren't forced information, where your brain's like a computer, the more you feed it, the better it gets. And part of that is critical thinking. Yeah. So that would have clicked in their head like, whoa, something's wrong here. This isn't right. But since they haven't really developed that, they act on instinct, so all that was instinct, like wild hyenas just out there, like, in the wild. And we talked about this before about, a couple episodes ago about how they determine, wild and all this.
I get what you're saying, because think of it in this analogy, right? One dog by itself is fine. But when you get a pack of dogs together, and especially if they're feral and wild, they are dangerous. That's the same situation here. One kid by themselves is fine, right? They'll generally have good understanding and critical thinking, hopefully, right? But when you get a bunch of kids that have no critical thinking,
stupidity reigns.
Stupid is as stupid does, right? That's exactly what's going to happen. So pack of wild feral dogs, and they're dangerous.
It is. my mom always used to say, friends would take you, but they won't bring you back.
Nope.
And
That's
that
right.
is true. That the company that you keep will mess with you a lot. Now, what we also have is a failure to learn how to learn. Um, Everything from participation trophies, they give you stuff for not even competing. You don't know how to lose or how to lose gracefully and learn your lessons from losing. The whole point of losing is not to be a loser. The whole point of losing is to understand what made you lose, so
Yeah.
you can improve on something that you may not have a strong suit for. But when you take that option away from people, they believe that they're fine the way they are and will continue failing at multiple other things and consider it success. And you set your child up for absolute abject failure because you don't ever teach them how to grow. You tell them that they've already arrived, you're fine. But they have not. They're still stupid young people who have no concept of how to rule their own life, much less their future. And you're going to
Mm-hmm.
end up having a situation like this where 15 people who are supposedly scholars are going to go out and act on impulse only and not
Mm-hmm.
be able to comprehend. Maybe they may not even comprehend what they did. That's how dumb I believe they are. I think they react, and when they react, they figure, "Oh, there's no consequence to it." And now you have 13
If
to 17-year-olds who are going to be going to prison for a long time because adults didn't do their job, both teachers and parents.
if I was a defense lawyer, that's exactly what I'd be doing. I'd be going after the school.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the problem with, like you mentioned, participation trophies, right? Is it's say it's fine through school. I don't agree with it. Okay, you pass, you pass, you pass. They're gonna hit that wall one day, right? They've been given participation trophies all this time throughout their life. And all of us hit a wall at some point, especially as an adult. There's that wall you run into. And that wall is not going to give you a participation trophy. That's going to hit you
Yeah.
with reality. And then they're not going to know how to react. They're going to be like, I've never failed at anything my whole life. So
Failure
we
is the
have
greatest
to
teacher.
we have to teach these kids. And I think there was a real popular, I think, who was it? Ben Franklin. He said, what'd he do? Whatever. He talked about failing at something so many times. He didn't consider it a failure. He considered it another way of how not to do it.
Not to do it.
Yeah.
How not to do it. So it's not a failure. You learn from that. You just figured out it didn't work, but it's not a failure because I got something from that.
From it.
Now I
Mhm.
got to figure out how to adjust. And if I hit that wall again, now I know what else I got to do to make this a success. We're not teaching these kids this, like Marlon said. They can get a D, and they're changing the whole grading system to, okay, now a D's a B minus. You know what I mean? It's just like, no, I can go in there and do the bare minimum. It's still going to be a B.
Yeah,
No,
competition
these kids
isn't
have to
wrong.
fail. Yeah.
Like, competition isn't wrong, and failure is not something to be ashamed of. Failure is something that you learn from, and you should encourage your kids to push themselves to failure so they can grow. The same thing with building muscle, right? You have to push your muscles to failure in order to build them. It's the same thing when it comes to anything. You have to push yourself to failure in order to figure out what works and what doesn't. No invention or any progress of mankind would ever existed if we
Wasn't for
did
failure.
not push ourselves to failure.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know what'll work.
These 15 are sure did push themselves to failure, and now they failed. So now we'll see if they get a slap on the wrist or if they get a chance to see what the consequences are, so they can learn from it. I don't know that will happen, but we can hope that it does, because sometimes the harder decision is to send them to where they will have to learn a lesson. The problem is that that location doesn't teach them anything either. So either way, I think these particular 8 are screwed. Either way, thank you to the parents and to the teachers of the ones that are in charge of them. Tomorrow, we have our event, people. Do not miss this one. Okay, you cannot miss it. I'm gonna give you a nice little preview of this thing, so you can know what the exact title and stuff is. Okay, this is about Israel, Palestine. We're going into the dark regions of history for this one. So don't miss it. And it's not, mind you, it's not just political history we're going into biblical history too, because they have a lot more of the history than political people do, just FYI. So we're going to tackle a whole lot of that and see exactly where the conflict came and why mankind can't solve it in terms of, oh, pass a law here, law here. Okay, it's a treaty. I'll show you why that is absolute nonsense, and it's going to be a failure for lifetimes to come. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about all that tomorrow.
Yeah, we get to talk about the Roman Empire.
Yay! It'll be really good.
Because that's a big part of this too.
I have no doubt, and I'm hoping they do.
We want them there.
Oh, we
Hey,
want them there.
Any interaction, including hate interaction, is an interaction. So, I will farm hate comments all day. If you want to super chat, or you want to like do a sticker or whatever just to hate, by all means,
do it.
You want to pay $5?
It's going to be on Rumble.
Go for it.
It will be tomorrow's Saturday. So remember, every other Saturday,
Rumble.
our episodes are always on Rumble. Every other Saturday.
Yeah,
don't miss it.
And it's going to be a good one. It should be streaming on Rumble, Twitter. What else can we get out there? Kick? Can we get Kick out there?
It depends on you. You all got to figure it out. If you can add it, we'll add it.
Yeah, we can add Kick, Twitter. We can't add YouTube because that'll get that.
Yeah. No, they get you real quick, man.
What we got to talk about, they'll definitely cut us off.
Oh yeah, but can we get it on Rumble? No, we can't get. No, I'm not Rumble, but that's not even a site no more. Don't worry about it.
What, BitChute?
But Twitter is going to be a good one. No, what was that other site? Truth. Yeah,
Truth Social.
Truth Social. Yeah,
I don't know if you can stream on Truth
around?
Social. Yeah, I don't know if you can stream on it though. I don't know if you can stream. Yeah. But I have it, so I'll check and see.
I was gonna share something. If you want to like send us stuff or like do posts or whatever, I set up a subreddit for the Hooch Podcast, and you can put up memes and other videos to react to, and we can check it out.
Okay, drop the link here in the private chat, and I'll give it to these guys. Okay, boss.
No, FJB doesn't equal for just being.
It is screw Joe
real
Biden.
Conservative would know what Hey, Missy. A real conservative would know what FJB means.
You mean it's Justin Bieber, right?
No, forget Joe Biden. Forget Joe Biden.
Oh, just forget
Joe Biden. Whatever you want to call it.
Fudge.
Yeah. Ain't nobody like that dude. Pedophile piece of crap. Anyway, we'll talk about everything to do with Israel and Palestine on Saturday. So do not miss it. And it'll be at 6 o'clock, not 6:30. 6 o'clock. Don't be late. Okay. If you are late, we're gonna call you out by name, and we'll embarrass you a lot.
5 o'clock Central.
Yes.
Right.
3 o'clock. What? Pacific.
Yeah.
That's the
4
one you're
o'clock.
on. That's the one
Mountain.
You are on 3 o'clock, bro.
It's 5:23 here.
Yeah, just remember. No, it's not.
It is 5:23 here.
No,
I'm looking at my phone right now.
No, it's not.
5:23. You're an hour behind me.
No, it's not.
Marlon. Did you guys do? Okay. Did you guys? We were on. Listen.
You like how I like messing with him?
Yeah, we were on the same time before daylight savings. You guys jump back. Arizona doesn't move. Arizona.
I'm just messing with you because I know you get mad with the
Don't get me all fired up.
It's like poking a chihuahua, right? You do it long enough, it'll just like.
You're messing with my zen, man. You know me and my path, man. I can't have it. I can't do it.
Especially the like little chubby chihuahuas, you poke them in the stomach long enough, and they just like lose their shit. It's great.
I just love doing that. That was my happiness for the day. My bad.
I gotta meditate after this.
In any case, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Please go share our stuff. If you haven't had people subscribe, force them to hold them and shake them a little bit. Get them to do it. And we'll catch you guys here tomorrow on the Savage Patriots. This is the Savage Patriots signing out. You guys have a grand weekend. We out. Peace.